shooting, dashing, and generally making meager attempts to survive at the world of Risk of Rain is adrenaline-inducing, even more so with a buddy or a group of friends. A worthy sequel, Risk of Rain 2 improves upon its predecessor with a hefty bag of tricks, but how does delving into the game headfirst feels like? If there's one thing past Risk of Rain players will notice immediately about the sequel is that it's finally in 3D and in third person. This has an effect on gameplay, but more on that later. This change makes the game feel fresh and new while still managing to feel the same game you played back in 2013. The environments of the game will offer large areas with a thematic surrounding said area. Your basic forest level 1 area, a hell zone with floating masses of land with chains, a very ethereal zero gravity place that screams unlockables here. They got that covered. The reason for why this game has very open areas is to allow enemies to swarm you left and right, back and front, and it is very charming because of that. This form of level design truly shines when projectiles fill your screen while having red outlines signifying your character taking damage, desperately whittling away the health of the bosses while banging to the amazing soundtrack made by the composer of the original songs of the first Risk of Rain, Christo Dulu. This is also, however, the game's weakest aspect. When the enemies are gone and bullets aren't grazing the air, you're left with a very barren, uninspired place. While this can change due to the game being in early access currently, the environments lack detail and the sauce to make it more interesting or rather pleasing to the eyes. This is even more so frustrating as important landmarks such as teleporters don't stand out from the environment, making the game more of a tedious chore of running around in circles instead of a scavenging under pressure type of fun. When starting out the game, you only have one class available to you, the Commando. As you play through Risk of Rain 2, you'll start unlocking other different characters, which is good, as these characters require better understanding and experience of the game to play correctly. Similar to the first game, you'll also unlock various items throughout the game in addition to the character unlocks, giving the player a sense of progression while making sure they ease you in with the myriads of items within the game. This will make sure the game has nearly infinite replayability with other roguelikes as you find items and discover how they interact with each other and how they'll affect the skills of your character. As stated earlier, the game going 3D affects gameplay primarily with two things, aiming and dodging. In a playing field where the environment is 3D, the game will spawn in more enemies, doubly so compared to the original, which makes dodging the projectiles more important than ever. Sidestepping and using a character's movement ability is given more emphasis. This of course also means the player will aim, which isn't a problem with hit-scan weapons. However, things such as the Commando's Mouse 2 ability and the Engineer's Mouse 1 ability are projectiles requiring more aiming, and thus need slightly more skill to use effectively compared to their past counterpart. Things that you expect from a game with a 3D setting is also here, such as firing while moving and having a sprint button, both of which were mechanics not available to all characters readily in the previous Risk of Rain. The biggest change past players will immediately realize with the online play of this sequel is the existence of quick play. This will allow other random players to join in on your lobby to immediately start a multiplayer session of up to 4 people. This was previously not the case with the original Risk of Rain, as you needed to actively organize a match with other people you personally know or online, and have them specifically enter IP addresses and passwords. The other improvement of the game with it being in a 3D setting is the usage of a ping system, making it easier to relay to randoms you're playing with that you've found a teleporter or directing them to a chest. Risk of Rain 2 is a neat indie game roguelike that is addicting and fun to play with a group of people. The perfect couch game, if you will. Being in early access and already having a solid foundation to build upon, there's no doubt that the developers can deliver a great game with its full release. It may be rough around the edges now, but it will become a more refined game. Pick this game up if you like roguelikes or have played the original. It has its charm, and while it may be nothing groundbreaking, it is at least the very least worth looking into.